Will you join me in welcoming Cesar to our program?
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us out here today. I do have the pleasure of just creating some initial remarks to give you some context as to why it's important that we are engaged in this discussion of affordable housing and homelessness here in our county. It's an issue that's impacting every community in our county. Oops, sorry. And I think there's some opportunities for us to be engaged and make some good headway and bring some solutions to it. So I just want to give you a brief overview. The County Commission is an organization that advocates for affordable housing in Orange County for extremely low-income families, those making $20 or less in Orange County. Just to give you some context as to why this is important, and it's not only an issue in Orange County, but we know that it's an issue that is being felt the worst in places where high housing cost is a problem. And throughout California, we see that an individual that makes minimum wage would have to earn would have to have about 3.8 jobs to be able to afford the typical rent in our county. And that's in California, that's about 1,800. Here in Orange County, maybe a little bit more, especially in Newport Beach or other areas where our two-bedroom apartments may have a range of $1,500 to $3,000, depending on where you're at. There's a need in California about 1.5 million new homes that need to be affordable to working families to be able to keep up with that demand. There's also another perspective that we, over the last 10 years, have added more renters to our housing stock, to our communities. So a lot more are renting, so therefore the demand for rentals is a lot more in our community. In Orange County, for example, you'll see that our median income is about $92,000 a year or so. So somebody making anywhere from $23,000 to about $87,000 is considered low income in our county. So that's the extent of our issue here, that we have a very pressing need of affordable housing. We also have a correlation between our wages and housing that's not connecting. So the demand for housing is exacerbated by a few things. Population, there's a huge growth in population. You see in the green bars there, and there's a huge growth also in employment, and our housing production hasn't kept up pace with that. So when we talk about, you might be hearing this in the community, that they say there's a supply issue. There needs to be more, there's more demand, there's less supply. Well, that's true, but even if we produce housing, as we're seeing a lot of construction happening through our communities, that's not meeting the needs of our community members. A lot of these units are unaffordable to a lot of families, a lot of working families. So we have to keep that in mind that when we talk about supply, we need supply at all income levels, especially the service sector job areas. And I'll show you that here. This is a chart that shows the occupations with the most openings over the next 10 years here in Orange County. You see that a large segment of our growth is going to be in the service sector jobs, and those don't pay a lot of money. They range anywhere from the minimum wage, $11 an hour, to about $15 an hour. So does anybody care to take a guess as to how much it would take for an hourly wage to be able to afford a typical two-bedroom apartment in Orange County? Is it $20, you think? More? 40? So right here, 25? 40. Close. So here's our minimum wage. And it takes about $36 an hour to be able to achieve a typical rent here in Orange County, around $1,800 or so. Then we also see that the latest information that comes from OCAJC from their closing Orange County skills gap, we see that there's a large growth in the different income areas. And here are the job segments with those with the wages that are attached to those. So you'll see, you can't really see it as well here, but you see the green pie chart area, it's about 43% of our workforce. That's in the low skill income category. And so you correlate that to what those folks are making. They're making about $31 an hour here in our county. So then the next is the mid-skill. That's about 31% of our county workforce. And the average income in that area is around $53,000. And then we also look at what our housing costs in terms of purchase. If you purchase a home here in Orange County, our last median price in Orange County for a home is around $835,000. So you need an income of $160,000 or so to be able to afford that. Only about 1 in 5 in Orange County can afford to purchase a home right now, so about 20%. So just making the recap, we look at our rent, about $1,800 a month. Then we have an income that you need to afford that rent, around $75,000. Hourly wage, around $36 an hour. If you're minimum wage, you have to have over 3 jobs to be able to afford to pay those rents. A minimum wage earner would have to work at an average of 133 hours a week to be able to afford that. So that's probably not feasible for a lot of us, but there are folks doing that, right? The percentage of our renters that are unable to afford rent are around 60% or more. And if you even go down further to someone who's on SSI, disabled, let's say, their rent should be around $257,000 or $67,000. We know that those rents are not achievable here in our county, so those folks who are on fixed incomes are struggling and will not have those housing options. So, what you say, well, so what does this matter, right? It's like, well, we have to think about this and see that there's a correlation between jobs, one, the economy, the type of jobs we're producing, and homelessness, and also folks who are struggling to pay average rents, who need affordable housing. So this is just some information from our last point in time. We have roughly about 4,200 individuals who are homeless on a given night, and that's just based on the formula that's utilized. It could be more. I think we have a sense that it's probably going to be more than that, the folks that are homeless in our community. And about 84,000 individuals on the waiting list to be able to be assisted to use programs such as Section 8 or other housing programs. So there's a huge demand for housing that is affordable, a huge demand for programs that are affordable for working families and their youth, and those are not available. Another staggering fact that comes out of some of the information that's pulled together from our local schools, you see that there's about 27,000 children in our K through 12 grades that are quantified as being homeless. That's either they're homeless on the street, living in the car, or they're living in conditions that are not acceptable, where there's 2, 3 families, 4 families, or they don't have adequate housing. So something to keep in mind. This just demonstrates that we have an increase in rents over the last 10 years. A lot of us know that already. The individuals that are mostly burdened by this are the ones that are making less, because they can't. 30% of their income is supposed to go to housing, and we know that 60%, 70% of their income is going to housing because of our high costs. I think I told you earlier there was about 1.5 million affordable homes needed in the state to be able to keep up with demand. That translates to roughly about 90 to 100,000 homes in Orange County that we need to be affordable, so that we can make sure that our workforce is able to be sheltered and live in our communities. So going back to some of the root issues of why we don't have affordable housing or why homelessness exists. So we know that back in 2008 or so, there was a taking of local resources from the state government for affordable housing at the state level. That was what was called redevelopment. So a lot of our local cities were not able to put in funding for affordable housing or for homelessness services. So what are some of the solutions here? And we have some of our presenters talking about those in a minute, but We do have to talk about land use. Our local cities, we have 34 cities in the county. We all have to be part of the problem, solving the problem, so we need to present some solutions. And part of it is having land use opportunities. So how do we make sure that our local governments are making wise land use decisions to encourage housing that's affordable to all income segments? And there's a few examples of what we have seen in Orange County and other areas that could work, and that's inclusionary housing, where there's a percentage of housing that's affordable in every development. There's also by right development, relaxing some of the restrictions on developments. There's also some opportunities coming up at the state level in November. There's going to be a few ballots on the initiatives on the ballot in November. One is Prop 1, which is the Veterans and Affordable Housing Act. That creates about $4 billion for investment of affordable housing and housing for veterans throughout the state of California. In addition to that, there's also Prop 2, which talks about a $2 billion investment for folks who are suffering with mental health and need housing as part of that. And there's opportunities for local funding also that we can look at. So with that, I'll pass it on to our next presenter.